How's it going, everybody? Shinigami here to bring you another video. This time a little different. Kind of putting my interests into mine here and making a different video. And I got kind of caught up in the whole One Piece stuff, but instead of actually watching the live action, I went a little bit more supplement since I am an anime fan. And I decided, you know what? If we're gonna do that, might as well just watch the anime. So we've been on a tirade watching the anime. I'm at about 600 plus early, so I'm only gonna cover up to the jump skip for this point, but I will cover Wano and all the other stuff later at a point once I've caught up. But I just wanted to kind of make a big video going over One Piece from when they got to the beginning all the way up to the time skip. It might be a long video, who knows, but we got everything kind of situated. We'll kind of go over a bit of each of the arcs in slight detail, but we're only going to kind of breeze through some of them, right? Some of them don't matter as much, others very important to the theme of it all, but we just gotta move forward, right? So first and foremost, we start with the opening. It's actually Dawn Island. Now, understandably so, the first actual arc is Orange Town, or Romance Dawn arc. This first portion is just a little complicated because we do learn about Luffy's homeland and all that stuff, where they're at, but we learn that at a later point. I'll cover that when we get to the time skip, because that's when you actually talk about it. But for the meantime, all we learn about at the beginning is Luffy wants to become the Pirate King, and we're introduced to some main characters that will stand by for the long run. We got Shanks, Kobe, of course the Marines. One of the characters doesn't really stand as long, but it's one of the she has the devil fruit. I can't remember her name, but whatever. In this first portion, we basically get our first crew member added to the team, and that is Roronoa Zoa. And this all comes to a head when at the beginning, he's able to convince a Marine, or someone who wants to become a Marine, Kobe, to kind of join along with him after he escapes the pirate ship that they were on. And they're able to find Roronoa Zoa. They end up, getting into a little bit of a kerfuffle with the Marines on the island there. But after they're able to free Roronoa Zoa and actually beat up the Marine that was kind of acting on ill intent, they're able to recruit Zoro, and Kobe is able to follow through with his dream of becoming a Marine after Luffy inadvertently kind of beats him up. And they kind of make themselves look like the bad guys on purpose to get Kobe to realize, like, hey, take your step forward, so that way you can fulfill the dream that you want to have, right? So that's where that all leads off to. Then from there we head off to the Syrup Village arc, where we are kind of following along with Zoro, with Nami, but she is not added to the team yet. She's been kind of seen in the background, but hasn't made her appearance known to Luffy and Zoro, right? So obviously Zoro is the first person they acquire on Orange Town. After that, they meet a thief named Nami who hates pirates. The trio makes an unlikely team, fighting to free the town of the rule Buggy the Clown. They acquire that pretty fast, since Buggy isn't really that huge of a threat. Yes, even in the early stages in the anime, he's not too strong, right? So they're able to beat up that fool. After that, you know what? I forgot. We have an interactive map here that we can go through. So here we are from there to there. Oop, fix that. There we are. And from there, we move on to the Syrup Village arc after Nami forms a partnership with the two of the navigator to be their navigator. The crew reaches Syrup Village and searches for a ship to use. There, they encounter a chronic liar named Usopp, and when the devious plot is revealed, Usopp's courage is put to the test as the crew prepares for a battle with the Black Cat Pirates. Now that is gonna be right here, spot on right there, and that takes about 20 episodes. Not too bad, not gonna lie. Well, 18 to be precise. But after that, they're able to acquire Usopp as a team member after he finds the courage to even fight for his own honor, his own homeland, you know, to try and impress and also save someone he does actually love on the island. It all comes to a head, and Luffy and Zoro, you know, do help him out. Now, at the end of it, it does turn out that Nami takes the fucking Going Merry, but that's at a later point. Anyways, you know, they do ask Usopp to join, and at the end of it, before he thought, you know, they were just gonna leave him and be like, all right, well, see you later. They're like, what are you doing? You're part of our crew. Come on, man, let's go. And he becomes the fourth member of the team, sort of. I know Nami's kind of like iffy at that point, but you know, that's where she does become part of the team. From there on, we move on to the Baratie arc, and we're moving on right there. It is a fancy little restaurant ship run by pirates that are not, you know, afraid to throw a little bit of hands. And after Usopp joins the crew as a sniper, you know, they're on the search for a cook for their ship. The crew go to the Baratie. However, the restaurant is attacked by the powerful Don Krieg, who has returned from the Grand Line and wants to use the Baratie as a vessel to go back. This takes about 12 episodes to fully play out. Not too bad in my opinion. And the other key points here is that Nami does leave at the end of it with the Going Merry. Sanji joins the team. Zoro is sacrificed, or he does take a really big fatal blow by Dracula Mihawk, and in a way to prove his, you know, skill as a swordsman, and promises Luffy that he will never lose again. Also, the 7 Warlords of the Sea are first introduced in this arc, which is a big deal. I will say some things to note about this arc. We get some substantial information about Sanji when it comes to his beliefs on why he feeds people, and, you know, his cooking abilities. I'm happy to see that he's gone through it all, right? He's been starved to death and had to endure that pain and made it through swimmingly, right? He's still alive. Well, he almost starved to death, you know what I mean? And okay, well, he fucking made it through. Anyways, point being made, Sanji has been through it all, and that's what makes him a very good cook. Yes. Anyways, we're able to pass from there on to the Arlong Park arc, and with Sanji being added to the team, they're obviously gonna go look for Nami since she did fucking steal the ship, and the crew follow to her island controlled by the fisherman pirate Arlong. Nami reveals that she is a member of Arlong's pirates and simply helped the crew so she could take their gold, blah blah, isn't that right? This takes about 14 episodes to you know, fully be completed, and with this arc we get to really see what happens with Nami, her mother obviously, you know, sacrificing herself, and Nami basically taking the whole town. She's basically supporting the whole town on her back by becoming a pirate with the Arlong crew, and being their navigator. Unfortunately, this also comes with a detrimental cause that Arlong isn't actually gonna, what is the word? He's not gonna fall. What's the word? He won't actually do what he promised with setting Nami free and the whole island if she paid, you know, the 100 billion berries or 100 million, whatever. That being said, once Luffy, Sanji, Zoro, and all them actually figure out what's happening and understand the backstory behind that, they're rightfully pissed, beat the shit out of Arlong, and luckily are able to free Nami from that whole mess and save her. What a great outcome that turned out to be. And after all that, she ends up joining the Straw Hats on their venture. From there, we head to Logtown. Oh, I wish I could fucking fix this map. There we are. Oh, no. There we are. Does this work? Yeah. Whatever. And from there, we go to Logtown. And the Logtown arc, basically, we have the crew setting out to the Grand Line before they hit Reverse Mountain. And as they actually arrive in Logtown, a bunch of events occur where Buggy the Clown is reappearing to attack Luffy and have his revenge all in one piece. And at the same time, this takes about 7 episodes, not entirely too long, but just a quick little adventure here. Also, we're told about Gold Roger and his after him being executed, telling the world about, the One Piece being out there and you can have my treasure, blah blah blah. Basically starting the whole pirate era. That all happened in Logtown. And with the events taking place, Buggy wanting to take revenge. He had almost killed Luffy, but was struck by lightning at a convenient time. Maybe, what is the word for that? Divine intervention. But yeah, Buggy was not able to kill Luffy, and besides that, because he's rubber, the electricity, he actually didn't affect Luffy at all, and everybody else was kind of stunned by the whole effect. Smoker almost killed Luffy at that point, but was intervened by Dragon, and we'll learn about him at a later point. But yeah, all that being said, Luffy was freed and was able to make it to the Grand Line. Smoker pissed as a motherfucker. And from there, we're able to move on to the Alabasta arc, which will start with the Reverse Mountain. And from there, we're able to meet a giant whale named Laboon, who will be very important at a later point as well. But we'll go through the short term here. After they exit Reverse Mountain, which is only about 3 episodes, there are actually some key notes here. Laugh-Tale, Laboon, and of course Crocodile are introduced. A lot of these plot points won't really be expanded upon until much later, but the fact that Oda actually had the foresight to put this in such an early point is commendable, because it's able to flesh out a lot of the details later on when talking about the stuff that happened with Laboon and Gold Rogers and other stuff like that. Like I said, we'll get to that at a later point, but from there they moved from this point right here, Laboon, and then they're gonna head to Caltus Island, whatever the fuck that one is. That is the small garden or little garden, whatever. But before there, we get to Whiskey Peak. So before there, we get to Whiskey Peak, and they actually add another member. Sorry, Whiskey Peak arc is led by the mysterious Mr. 9 and Miss Wednesday. A crew go to Whiskey Peak, where townspeople immediately start a party to celebrate their arrival. Blah blah blah. Yeah. Okay, yeah, that's what I was understanding. So Whiskey Peak started first, and then we got to Little Garden where, you know, we understand that number 3? No. Miss Wednesday actually is Princess Vivi. So from there we get to Little Garden, which is actually Cactus Island. On their mission to bring Princess Vivi to Arabasta, the crew land on Little Garden, which is actually a huge island that is still stuck in prehistoric era. However, there are more than dinosaurs on the island. There's a whole bunch. There's 2 giants there. I wish they put the names here, but I will find it out real fucking quick. Oops. Alright, so we found out. So the 2 fucking giants on the island is Dory and Broggy. They're basically in a competitive fucking manslaughter for who's gonna kill the biggest fucking animal. And they've just been at it for 100 years. Yeah, they've been at a battle. They've been at a competition for 100 years. Alright, so from where we left off. Yeah. Little Garden. We're moving on from there to Drum Island. And shortly from there, in Drum Island, that's when we start to learn about the Baroque Works people. And a little bit of stuff about there is Miss Wednesday and number 2. No, not number 2. It was one of the number people. At this point, I don't remember. But we learned about them on Drum Island. Zoro took out quite a bit of them. And then we actually get, her name is Vivi, Miss Wednesday, on our team. And she actually, is telling us about what's going on in Alabasta, so Sandy Island. And from there, it's a pretty long arc on the whole. Yeah, so we start the Alabasta arc. That one's about 39 episodes, not too bad. We got Vivi, Karu, one of the new crew members. They're kind of like stand-in crew members. Hopefully further along in the anime manga. I hope that they actually are able to, get back added into the Straw Hats, because Luffy did say, I would like to have you guys join my crew. Hopefully at a later point when everything is calmed down, he's able to revisit this island and ask them to join his crew. Would be very good additions to his team. Karu, very good with Usopp and Chopper. And then of course, Vivi was very much friendly with Nami and Sanji and stuff like that, right? So it would have been a good person to have on the team if they're able to actually have her added, right? But that main saga mostly revolves around dealing with Crocodile, him trying to take over Alabasta, and uncovering, the whole Baroque Works hidden roster, right? And we have Zoro stepping up to the plate, Sanji as well. And at the end of it, you also have Luffy losing a few times, but learning to be able to beat Crocodile with the ability of water or blood, dripping off of his fucking body to be able to actually punch and hit Crocodile this time, because a bit early, I understand, but the introduction of Haki has not yet made its self known. But if Luffy was a Haki user at this time, he might be able to actually make contact with Crocodile, since he is a Logia type. But none of that is actually aware to any of the Straw Hats at this time, so we continue onward. And by the end of this arc, he's made a great bond and made himself known that not all pirates are out there to just conquer and destroy, but he was even at a point where he's just trying to help Vivi. She became his friend, and that was all that mattered. I just want to help you help this country, and if that is accomplished, then I'm happy. That was able to get done. He beat the shit out of Crocodile. He got taken into custody. Unfortunately, even Smoker saw what was going down at this place, and he was upset when Straw Hat wasn't, mentioned at all in the footnotes of the report that he helped stop Crocodile, right? But for reasons unknown to us at this point, the world government would like to keep that quiet. So we did not learn about that at that time, or at least the masses did not. And from there, we're able to pass on. We leave on from Alabasta, and we move on to the next place, the next arc, which would be Jaya. It's a little bit smaller, but you know, we go from Jaya to Skypiea. Yeah, we'll move on from that point. So we got right here Jaya and then Skypiea. It in turn actually makes a giant map when you put them two together, but I'll move on for the first part. So after tearfully leaving Vivi, they continue on their venture. Actually, I should mention, because Jaya is important, after leaving Alabasta, Straw Hat did save Nico Robin, and because he decided to save Nico Robin in this moment, told her, there's more, to do with your life than just fucking dying at this point, she decided, guess what? I'm gonna join your crew. And she didn't actually have any ill intent. She was just like, you know what? You give off this presence, the way that you come off is very genuine. And she entrusted herself to the Straw Hats. And lo and behold, they interviewed her. They, liked her attitude. Some of them were still a bit distrusting, like Nami and Zoro, but they added her to the team. And she took a bit of time to actually prove herself, but once they actually understood her backstory, it made sense, and they love her. So that was a really big important thing that happened after Alabasta, was Nico Robin joining the crew and is the archaeologist of the Straw Hats. The other main thing that she does compose with the team is being able to read the poneglyphs. This is a huge thing in the One Piece lore, that not many people in that world are actually able to read the poneglyphs, because on her island of Onaha, there was a society of archaeologists at the time that were studying the poneglyphs. They even had one there on the island, but because it is important to the world government and the Celestials and other entities in the One Piece universe, it is highly censored, right? There is 100-year gap of information, and not a lot of people know what actually happened in that time frame. Nico Robin was one of those people that was in a group that had information of the missing time frame that occurred within 100 years. So her addition to the Straw Hats is very significant, very important, because she's able to discern and add a little bit more context to places that the Straw Hats will meet up in at later points. So from Jaya, we basically had a few more people to interact with, but one of the main people that was noted was Mont Blanc Cricket, and he was basically like wolf cries, or is it sheep? Whatever. The boy cries wolf when there's nothing actually happening. And in truth, this man was actually telling the truth, but it was a huge setback when he came back to the island. In turn, Mont Blanc Cricket was a story told, and we actually get one of their descendants telling Luffy about all this stuff. He doesn't actually care for it, right? But that's when we get to the Skypiea arc, and they're actually able to ride up the knockup stream with Mont Blanc Cricket's descendant helping them get to that point. And they actually are able to find a few natives to the Sky People, the Sky Islands, whatchamacallit, that some people consider that a filler arc. I would say Skypiea is very instrumental for foreshadowing a lot of the stuff that happens in quote-unquote Wano and set forth, right? That's all I'll say, because saying anything past that is too spoilery for this video, since I'm only covering what happens up to the time skip. I will cover the time skip in a later video. So Yeah, the main thing that happens in Skypiea is Luffy deals with God Enel, and this takes about 43 episodes. It's a pretty long arc, and it is the first plot point of Haki. Granted, in this saga, they refer to Haki as Mantra. Poseidon is also introduced in the Poneglyph, but not much is actually being able to discern from that information at this time. Other than that, after Skypiea being a very significant era of the Straw Pirates, I will add one more thing. There is one big thing that happens with the ship. Now, the Going Merry was given to us on the Syrup Village arc back when they got Usopp, and Usopp was very heartfelt to the ship. He cared for it so much, and not just him, Luffy and the crew, they do understand the importance of the ship, and they did love it as much. But Usopp had an even stronger affection for the ship and love because he knew and felt like the Going Merry was also part of the crew. It wasn't just the ship, it was part of the crew. And that's where we get to Water 7 and connecting with the Skypiea arc, where the ship actually gets fixed at a point when it gets damaged. The mast actually gets broken off, and in this one scene we're actually able to see Usopp look upon the ship and see that, guess what? There is some kind of entity repairing the ship. And then when they actually get back to the ship, it's fixed. Granted, it's not, perfect, but it's fixed from when it was last seen. So that leaves a thought in Usopp's head for a good minute. And from there, Skypiea ends. We beat up God Enel and move forward. From there on, we get to Water 7, and we're introduced to a few more long arcs. The first one is Long Ring, Long Land arc. The crew returns to Blue Sea with gold and dials from Skypiea, only to encounter Foxy the Silver Fox. This one was a bit. Some people don't really like this this segment of episodes, and to be true, yeah, I kind of wish the whole Foxy Pirate stuff went a little bit faster. Goes on for 15 episodes. That's all I'm gonna say. I agree. I wish that fucking segment of the episodes went faster, but whatever. We'll go through that. From there, they get to Water 7. This is where we actually get to searching for a shipwright for the Straw Hat Pirates, and in doing so, they also have two crew members left behind at the ship that ended up going missing at the time, right? So Chopper and Nico Robin decided to go shopping on their own, but Nico Robin ends up getting lost, quote unquote, after encountering one of the what are they called, CP9 members. After that happens, we don't see Nico for a little bit. We're kind of lost, what's going on? But in the meantime, Luffy's trying to get a shipwright. He's trying to talk to the mayor, blah blah. From that point, it only gets worse because they're framed on an attempted assassination on the mayor of Water 7. After that, the whole Galley Law Company starts coming after the Straw Hats. They have to try to figure out what's going on. They figure out they're actually being framed. They attack the personators. They also find Nico, and after they find the true culprits, they're soon to learn that they may have been caught, head over the heels in a huge government scandal, and their only main goal is to retrieve Nico Robin, understandably so. This takes about 37 episodes, and we're also introduced to Frankie. We get a little bit more backstory on him, who he is, on how he is a shipwright, and him being taught by the Master Tom. I say it was a really good set of episodes for that, but I'll digress on that part. From there, the key points: Robin, Usopp leaves as well, I should say, just before or during that whole debacle where they weren't able to find Robin, and after they didn't get a ship right off the bat. They had some issues with Usopp wanting to fix the ship. The shipwrights telling Usopp and the crew that the ship can't be fixed. Usopp being very upset that nothing can be done about all this stuff, and so he fights Luffy in a very tragic and sad fight for once. It's heartbreaking, to tell you the truth. And for a little while, Usopp leaves, and we're temporarily joined by Sniper King. And he's the one that joins the crew to help rescue Nico Robin during the Enies Lobby arc, right? And Cypher Pool is introduced. So many things at once. It's fucking nuts. Whoa! But we're almost there. We're almost at the fucking midway point, god damn it. Alright. Chugging a little bit forward, we get to the Enies Lobby arc. The Straw Hats, the Frankie family, and the Galilog company basically team up to save Nico Robin and Frankie, of course, and avenge Iceberg. To do this, they attack Enies Lobby, a government stronghold where CP9 is based, declared war on the world government. This takes about 46 episodes. It is a badass fucking arc, I will tell you that much. Some key plot points are revealed of Robin's backstory. She rejoins the Straw Hat crew, and of course we get introduced to Luffy's Gear 2 and Gear 3 stages, not to mention Sanji's Diablo Humble, Zoro's 9-sword style, Nami's perfect climate attack, Usopp's Kabuto, and Chopper's monster point. Zoro loses to Yarabushi, the Going Merry is sunk, and the Straw Hat Pirates declare war on the world government. All in one fucking arc. It is amazing. I gotta tell you that much, that's for sure. Now, just after that, it is a lot taken, but I am trying to rush through everything that is fucking going on right now. Oh my god, I fucking forgot to move this. So yeah, here we go. We're at this point right here. So we go from, there to Water 7 to Enies Lobby back to Water 7 and moving forward once we have gotten there. So from Enies Lobby, boom, we're gonna move forward. Because it just goes fucking nuts from here because of the Sabaody archipelago. Woo! My goodness, what a fucking tragic. Anyways, resting at their ordeals after the post Enies Lobby, the Straw Hats and the world is turned upside down from all that shit. Some familiar faces return unexpectedly, revelations for the continuation of their journey to the new world. Shanks makes his move to protect Whitebeard's subordinates, Ace from the familiar face with a horrific new power. This takes about only 13 episodes. Some of it is filler, but we get a few key points here. Thousand Sunny is introduced to us after Frankie joins the crew. Also, we get Frankie joining the crew. Usopp also rejoins. Shanks has a little bit of a battle with Whitebeard, which were introduced. My goodness, I'm sorry. There's so many things going on and on. But the 4 emperors are introduced. The new world is introduced, and Monkey D. Dragon, I should say, is also properly introduced in who he is, right? So many fucking things to talk about. It is insane. So I'm sorry if I'm just kind of rambling and going on so much, but almost done. I should say though, from that point, it doesn't actually show Thriller Bark on the map, but we definitely know that the Florian Triangle is right here where Thriller Bark was at. It just doesn't have the actual island there because it was a ship. But from that point, we get to Thriller Bark. And this is a chapter that lasts 48 chapters, 45 episodes. And this one is kind of long. The Straw Hats continue their adventure out on the Florian Triangle, where they come across a strange barrel, which opening it sets off a flare, and also they find a ghost ship, in which we get introduction to Brooks, one of my fan favorites, a musician pirate, right? And not just that, we also get directed towards Thriller Bark. Like I said earlier, introduced the zombies, ghosts, and of course the warlord Gecko Moria. After that, like I said, takes about 45 episodes. The main things here that happens is Zoro gains Shusui. That's the sword that he gains from this pirate samurai that he beats, that had Brooke's shadow. Not to mention also Charlotte Lola gives Nami her mother's Viver card. Kaido and Wano are mentioned for the first time, which is very big. The Straw Hats meet Bartholomew Kuma. This is also another big figure that we're not going to talk about until we get to the Sabayori Archipelago. But, you know, Bartholomew Kuma is introduced. And also, Vegapunk is also talked about. And the Pacifistas are also introduced. So, when I tell you, when it starts to get to this point, so much stuff starts getting crammed into the fucking episodes. It's nuts to try to like talk about it in a short formed fucking format, right? Because there's just too much information going on at one time. Jesus Christ. Oh my boys. Okay, from that point on, they finally leave Thriller Bark after beating Gecko Moria and having their shadows taken. And not to mention when everybody was fucking knocked out for a little while, Zoro actually had fought Kuba for a little bit and took on what we will call as the nothing happened. And after the nothing happened, it, you know, kind of sets a little bit of an archetype for future segments in the story where a character will have something very horrific happen to them, but will not expand upon it when another of the Straw Hats asks them, you know, what was going on. So, Zoro took on the pain of Luffy and endured it and was able to, you know, save the crew. From there, we go on to the Summit War arc, or I should say the, you know, it's a really long arc, but the Summit War arc consists of the Sabayori Archipelago arc, the Amazon Lily arc, Impel Down, and Marineford. So it's a lot of stuff kind of jam-packed all into one, because it's 108 episodes. Sorry, no, 132 episodes. But we'll cover it all, because it all is still within time limit. So, as we move on forward, the Sabayori Archipelago arc starts off after they arrived at the Red Line. The crew searches for a way to get to the famed Fishman Island, but the Straw Hats are soon diverted from the search when a mermaid and a starfish appear and soon find themselves saving an old enemy from kidnapping ring. This turns out to be Hachi, and even after all this that goes down, they save Hachi. Also end up having, I can't remember her name, but the mermaid fucking gets captured. Oh, I'm trying to remember her name right now. Oh, it starts with a C or a K. Whatever, I'll remember it eventually. Oh my god, it's Kami. Alright, there it is. Kami. So Kami gets fucking kidnapped after they get to the archipelago shortly after that by some fishmen. And that whole thing basically it begins a whole search for looking for Kami. After they find Kami, well, guess what? Luffy and all them make themselves an enemy of the world government yet again. Things turn to the worst when Straw Hat finds himself cornered, and they basically Luffy punches a celestial dragon, obviously for being such an asshole and demeaning towards a lot of people and enslaving humans, giants, and other mythical creatures for the sole purpose of, you know, servitude. This pisses him off. He goes on a tirade, and some other notable mentions on this part were the pirates known as the Worst Generation. I don't remember all the names, so I apologize for that, but the main people to keep note of are Kid, Law, and a few other people. There's one that looks like an angel priest. There's one whose name is Drake. I remember he turns into a fucking T-Rex and was formerly a vice admiral of the Navy. There's a female pirate who is a glutton just like Luffy. There is a singer slash musician type person with like 2 fucking elbows and shit. He's also kind of strong. Some person that like basically does like voodoo shit. I feel like that's everybody that I can think off the top of my head, and of course the Straw Hat Pirates. But whatchamacallit, Luffy uses haki for the very first time during this arc. The 11 supernovas, Capone, Jeremy Boney, Hawkins, Apu Kid, Killer. Yeah, so like I was saying, so here are the people. So the girl that I was talking about was Bonnie, Jewelry Bonnie. There, another one of the new Worst Generation pirates is named Capone. And I believe that, yeah, so I believe that angel priest guy that I was talking about, his name is Urouge. Urouge? Something like that. Urouge. That's how it's spelled. They're introduced. The Celestial Dragons are introduced. Rayleigh is also introduced, which we later find out he was the right-hand man of Goldie Rogers. Also one of the most powerful fucking haki users in existence. And the voice of all things is introduced. Jesus Christ, so much stuff happens. And this is already one other portion of a video. Like, what the fuck? Anyways, we keep moving forward. I love this fucking anime though, it just gets nuts. And look, from here it just goes even nuts. Or because it goes from here to here to here, back to there, and then back to there. It's so much back and forth. Boom, 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 boom. Like, holy shit. Can y'all make up your fucking mind? Jesus Christ. Anyways. So, from that point, holy shit. After Bartholomew Kuma basically breaks up the Straw Hat Pirates, we have a little bit of a segment where we're actually told slightly, a bit of foreshadowing, that it might have seemed that Kuma did this on purpose. Now, the reason that being is there is one of the Marines there that basically says, you know, why is Kuma here? He's not supposed to be here. He's supposed to be over there with the other, 7 warlords. And it's figured out later on, once everybody set their basic ways, that he is actually part of the Revolutionary Army. And that will not be evident to the Straw Hats until 2 years later, unfortunately. So for them, they had to live with that thought that, this was one of their enemies, and, it separated them. For all they knew, each of them had died, right? None of them knew if they had survived, but it was a very dreadful mindset to be on at that time. From there, after everybody gets sent on their own different islands for a little while, we get the Amazon Lily arc. This one's not too long, only about 14 episodes, and the main thing that we get introduced here is, like I said, Luffy doing a little bit more observation on what haki is, and the introduction of Boa Hancock as the one of the warlords of the sea. Whatchamacallit. During this whole arc, we get a little bit more information about the Celestial Dragons and about, how they've enslaved certain people and stuff like that. And, even Luffy goes out of his way to protect Boa and her sisters from having that secret told to the world. That is able to convince Boa and even makes her fall in love, basically, with Luffy. And is a very key factor in helping Luffy get to some points at later stories, right? So Boa is introduced, Luffy learns about, Ace's execution at this point, and he decides, guess what, we gotta fucking go now. From that on, we're headed on to Impel Down. Luffy learns about Ace's execution, and luckily, Hancock's heart is won over by Luffy, and she's more than willing to fucking help him out. She makes the decision to go see Ace in Impel Down. This allows Luffy to get a little bit of an easy access into Impel Down, where normally this prison is top of the notch places to be in prison. You would not be able to get even a fucking toothpick without anybody noticing, right? But for Luffy, having Boa at her side, or at his side, helped significantly, allowing him to gain as easy access as he did. Also, being a rubber man and being able to stretch himself and figure out positions helps as well, even though he's dangling on her right. From there on, he storms the prison of Impel Down, hoping to save his brother Ace from execution, before also, sparking a whole showdown between what was his name? Oh my god, the poison guy. I can't remember his name, but the fucking Marshall, the main prison guard from Impel Down, but Magellan. There you go. He actually meets a few other people along the way. Bonclave, Buggy, and Mr. 3. These all make significant help. They all help significantly during this arc as well. And it's great to see Buggy again. It's great to see Bonclave still being a friend to Luffy, and even till the end, the man sacrifices himself exactly how he did the first time. So it's kind of hard to not, feel bad for this man, but he was a true friend to Luffy through and through to the end. And that took about 27 episodes. But from that point, we also get introduced to Ivankov and Jinbei. They're introduced, and also many of Luffy's prior foes were escaped from the imprisonment, like I mentioned. Luckily, Jinbei again is one of the main characters that we learn about that will play a significant role in his story moving forward. Jinbei was a huge friend to Ace and Whitebeard. He used to visit the Moby Dick quite often, and so when he heard about Luffy and actually saw him in the flesh, that he's actually here, he actually did make it here, holy shit, guess what, free me, I'll help you, save your brother, let's go. After that, this sets off the whole Marineford arc. Now I gotta say, if you've watched to this point, you are gonna cry, because the Marineford arc was something, even though I knew, I didn't know exactly how it would plan out. And having it all actually being seen threw me for a loop, because I really thought things would work out differently, right? What am I talking about? Well, this is about I know I'm grieving with it with fucking laughter. But this takes about 33 episodes. Some key plot points here. Porcus D. Ace, Whitebeard, and yeah, I'll explain this in a little bit. There's some stuff here. But during this beginning of the whole arc, we're finally able to see Whitebeard introduced. He makes a valiant stand against the Marines, fighting on them as much as he could with such power, using all that he can with the Tremor fruit, and unfortunately with adversaries as strong as Aikaiji and Akainu, it proved a little bit too much even for the great emperor of the sea. And Luffy was eventually able to also make his entrance, made a great impact on Whitebeard, saw what he saw in Ace, and this all, allowed Whitebeard to put his faith in Luffy, helping him out and also saving his brother. Whoa, I gotta tell you though, learning about everything that Luffy went through, Ace went through, basically seeing that Whitebeard was his father when unfortunately he didn't know his actual father. All this also being told that, guess what? Luffy's father is Dragon, and Ace's father was Goldie Roger. So everybody is throwing for a loop in the actual world because it's being broadcast that all this stuff is public now, right? So both Luffy and Ace have been reached to such astronomical levels when it comes to notoriety, and some people fear them, some people see them as heroes and symbols of the new world, but for the Navy and other, entities of that atmosphere, they see him as a threat. And unfortunately, Ace is one of those that needs to be taken out. Unfortunately, otherwise, it could be the unravel of peace and prosperity in their eyes, right? And with this great world government battle that went on with Whitebeard and all that, as much as they did and fought for, they were not able to successfully retrieve Ace. Yes, they freed him from his handcuffs, and in a last-ditch effort, Akainu attacked Luffy, and Ace, not being able to not protect his little brother, dove in for it first, and even for a man of fire, the lava was too much for Ace to even endure, and with one final gasp of breath, he was able to tell Luffy as much information and tell them all that, he's sorry, he's happy that he had them all as a family and a crew, and he wishes he could see them all, make their dreams come true, but he knows they'll be able to do it. He won't be there, but he knows they'll make it. And after, Ace passes away within Luffy's arms, it puts Luffy in such a shock. He's paralyzed, not able to move, and before Akainu was able to actually put the finishing blow, he's saved luckily, but he's still not responsive. Jinbei comes into the rescue and other stuff like that, and also Whitebeard sees all this stuff going on, is furious with what happened, and loses that shit, sends a huge ass tsunami at them. But even with everything that happened, a few other people were taken out. Nobody from the Marine side significant was taken out, but at the end of it all, we get confirmed that the One Piece is real by Whitebeard. Unfortunately, somehow, we also get to witness that Blackbeard shows up and steals Whitebeard's power somehow, and that enables Blackbeard to have two Devil Fruit powers, the Tremor Fruit and the Dark Fruit. Yeah, and this is even after meeting Blackbeard and Impel Down, so much jam-packed in those fucking episodes, right? From there, we get a little bit of the post-war arc, where we get a little bit more information on Ace, some post-Whitebeard stuff, and what happens to the world after everything that happened with Whitebeard. Some main things to note: the world reels from the death of Whitebeard, some celebrating, some in fear, but the main thing that it did cause was chaos, rippling across all the Grand Line. Luffy struggling to cope with Ace's death, and of course remembering that, he has something more important, his crew that are still out there hoping that he's safe, right? Because while Luffy went through all this stuff, they were all separated, and once they found out that Luffy had gone through all this stuff on his own by himself, and they're not able to comfort him when he has been there for them in their darkest moment, it really pulled at their heartstrings and made them wish that they were able to actually be there for Luffy. And this went for about 26 episodes of, you know, the post-war arc. Luffy struggling again, like I said, with coping with Ace and remembering that he has something important with him. And the whole thing of, you know, will the Straw Hats make it back? And from there, that ends it. Some last key plot points to note, though, are Gecko Moria gets eliminated from the warlords ferociously, I should say, and violently by Doflamingo. Not to mention Sabo is introduced. All three forms of Haki are formally introduced: observation, armament, and I think deflective. The Straw Hats begin their 2-year training, and that will conclude everything up to the first portion, up until the time skip. Last minute things to note. I would have to say this has been a huge undertaking, trying to comprise everything that happened in the first portion of One Piece. I thought I wanted to do it in shorter form videos, but you know, it'd be better to just make it in one big format, because they are short enough and they also are long enough to just make it in one fell swoop, because the beginning of the Straw Hats and then what happens after this point really goes off the deep end. So I'd rather make one big detailed kind of, you know, analysis on this before we continue onward, because from here on out it would just be each arc being covered individually. Yes, I know a lot of stuff did happen, gaining new members, learning abilities, and people learning to trust each other and stuff like that, friendships being tested, but it really doesn't hit that peak until the 2-year skip. So hopefully y'all enjoyed this. I hope I did my best to explain each arc in as depth as I can, and if, you know, it made sense. But yeah, I gotta say, One Piece was not something I thought I would have gotten into at the time, but after hearing about the live action, I was like, you know what, fuck it, we'll take the dive. We'll see if it's actually worth our time. And after 600 plus episodes now under our belt, I can definitively say that One Piece surpasses Dragon Ball Z, Naruto, and stuff like that when it comes to doing Shippuden some kind of success, right? They're actually writing some good stories. It doesn't always all line up how you would think it would when you hear that Oda actually keeps characters in when he's like, you know, I liked them and I just couldn't kill them off, so, you know, I'll keep them for a little bit longer, right? Or they'll just keep them indefinitely. It's nice to see those characters develop and grow as the years go on. So I gotta say, I'm happy with One Piece. Let me know down in the comments below, would y'all suggest it to be a pretty good Shippuden? I don't know. For being an Naruto fan, it's good. And that's all I can pretty much say for now. Hopefully y'all enjoyed this video. I tried my best, but let me know if I need to improve anything else. Other than that, y'all have a good morning, good evening, and good night. Shinigami signing out. Bye.